once was a boy named Max who lived in a treehouse with his two best friends, a boy and a girl. One day while playing pirates, Max discovered something incredible. "Ahoy, mateys!" he cried. "I found a tunnel under the treehouse." He crawled through a small opening to find an even bigger surprise. "Wow!" he breathed. "It's a secret passageway." Then he heard a strange sound. Giggle, giggle, wheeze. The kids gasped as the moles tickled them with their tiny fingers. Max thought of a plan. He would pretend to be a statue. "Whoever reaches the crown first gets to wear it," said one of the moles. Benny and Max raced toward the prize. Max was almost there. "We should go back," said Max. "I want to see if I can win the tickle contest this time." Just then, the crown appeared in Benny's hands. It glowed with a magical light. "Whoa," she said. "I think the crown wants me to wear it again." So Benny put the crown back on her head, and the three friends went back into the tunnels for another day of fun. All he had to do was take one more step. But then Benny dashed past him and touched the crown. The moles cheered. Benny had won. She put on the crown, which tickled her neck. Then she started to giggle uncontrollably. "Oh, my!" The crown was super ticklish. She laughed and laughed until her stomach hurt. He stood still, arms out like a T-Rex, and didn't even breathe. Benny and Chloe joined in. They pretended to be statues, too. The moles giggled and ran around them. Finally, they reached the end of the third level and the fourth and last level. Suddenly, something tickled his feet. Startled, Max jumped back. Giggle, giggle, wheeze. The moles were getting tired and asked the kids to race them to the end of the tunnels. Of course, the kids agreed. They ran through the Chocolatey tunnels as fast as they could. They had so much fun, but eventually they had to go home. As they crawled through the passageway, the moles waved goodbye. "Thanks for visiting, kids," they called. "Come back soon." Max was in the lead, but Benny was right behind him. Then suddenly, they saw a crown made of shining giggle crystals at the end of the tunnel. It looked beautiful. No one knew what lay ahead, but the moles invited the kids to explore. If they wanted to pass through the tunnels, they had to win a tickle contest against the moles. The moles led the kids through fields of flowers and bushes with buzzing bumblebees. The kids thought the worst was over, but the moles started tickling them again. Max pretended to be a frog sitting on a log. He wiggled his legs and stuck out his tongue. The moles tickled Benny, who was pretending to be a log. She even made a snoring sound. Then they reached the end of the second level and passed on to the next part of the tunnels. If they laughed too much, they'd have to start over from the beginning. Max, Benny and Chloe took a deep breath and prepared for battle. He looked down to see a tiny mole with a big pink nose. Before he could say "Arr, matey," the mole tickled him again. And then another mole popped up behind him and tickled his neck. Max started to giggle. "Oh, my!" He tried to be brave, but the moles were too funny. They tickled him until he laughed so hard that his sides hurt. And when he exhaled, his laughter came out as a snort. The moles giggled at that. The tunnels were the entrance to the Tickle Tunnels, an underground world ruled by the Giggle King. The first part of the tunnels was dark and twisty, but the kids soon realized that the moles weren't very good at tickling. They couldn't even reach Max's legs because he bent them like a crab's claws. When they got to Benny, she just rolled over and showed them her super ticklish belly. Soon they reached the end of the first level, and the moles let them pass without tickling them. In the next part of the tunnels, the walls were covered with soft, fluffy grass. This part was full of surprises. The walls were lined with sparkling gems that glittered in the dim light. The walls here were made of solid chocolate. The kids couldn't believe their eyes. They had never seen anything like it before. The moles had stopped to catch their breath. The kids spent the rest of the day in the Tickle Tunnels, sliding down hills of sparkling gems and racing through fields of chocolate. When Max, Benny, and Chloe got back to the treehouse, they told the others all about the Tickle Tunnels.